You've got a passion for the outdoors, a desire to feel the warm sun on your face, the sound of your fly line whipping through the air, the pop of the water as the fish inhales the fly you just found in the floorboard of your truck. You need to feel the cool waters on your feet, the crisp north breeze of a November morning, the sound of a turkey gobble, the December rut, the chills of an elk bugle in September. It's the longing passion to chase your obsession. This is what we share. This is what we preach. Welcome to Honey Hole Hangout.
You know, if we're going to start doing video, can we get like an intro video so I don't have to sit here and bob my head and scratch at the couch? And...
Right. Everywhere you look. Everywhere. It's just like Zach. Just landed.
That would be great. Oh, man, that would be awesome. Well, guys, welcome to the show. It's good to be here in the living room again with you guys, and we have a great guest today, Judd with Hellenbach Outfitters.
I'm glad to be here, guys.
And also Green a little bit now, too.
A little bit of Green Outfitters.
A little bit of Green Outfitters.
Yep, working in the shop there.
Cool. Well, we'll get into that a little bit later.
Okay.
But first, what's everybody been up to? You guys been fishing, tying? Anything worth reporting?
I fished a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Kendall and I went out before school starts back up.
And?
We caught fish. I mean, like, the river's sad, you know. It was for her birthday, and we went out, and I was like, okay, we can go out for your birthday. I was like, but the river's going to be dry. And she was just like, oh, okay. She turned 30, too, and so she was like, of course, like, my 30th birthday, the river's just going to be like a riverbed when we get out there. There's not going to be any fish. But we got out there, and we caught a lot of fish and had a good time. Was
fishing easy, hard? How would you rate it with the current conditions?
We didn't catch any bass, but we caught a ton of panfish. And where we went, like I said, like it wasn't really running, but there were large pockets of water, and so I felt like all the fish were kind of held up there, and so it was kind of like once you found them, you're kind of in them because they didn't really have a lot of places to go.
Yeah,
you know. But we were only out there for a couple hours in the morning, but we had a good time.
Nice.
Was the water dirty?
Yeah, it was pretty stained.
Were you on the quad?
Yeah. Yeah.
What color were the sunfish?
They were super colored out, though.
Yeah,
like,
it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, like they're crazy bright and vibrant right now.
They look like aquarium fish for like the last 6 months. Every one I've caught, it's just absolute. I caught some a couple weeks ago. They were the brightest yellow I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Like Kendall from across the river, she pulled out, and I'd be like, oh, like the bright orange belly, like you could see little green specks and stuff. It was cool.
Blue. There's been some real bright blue. It's been weird.
Some of them I've noticed have a purple iridescence too. You get them in some sunlight.
Yeah.
Back tail end, you know, it's got a
really
shine.
Cool. Yeah. I've caught a handful like that where it's like that purple shine is really cool. You've been hammering cichlids.
That's all I gotta say.
I mean, we're not asking where, but like, kind of talk to us about it.
They swim. They eat my fly. That's about all I'm going to say.
They're green and they swim in the water?
No, that's bass.
We still have that button on the board.
They're green and they swim in the water.
Oh, we found them. It's been cool. Got into some really, probably the biggest I've ever caught.
Yeah, no, they're
huge.
Huge.
Yeah,
like consistently
huge.
big.
Yeah. And I could go right now and catch one right now.
Cool.
Like it's just
like
it's
you
ridiculous.
just know that's where they're at.
Oh yeah, they're there. Yeah. And it's not
like
a pond either. I'm going to tell you guys that right now. It's not a pond.
But they're there like the carp are there, right?
The carp are not there. No, it's no, they've been cool and they're eating for sure. They're not picky or anything. I don't think these fish are fly fished for, to be honest.
Low pressure.
Exactly. So as soon as I put a fly in front of them, like it could be 5 foot away, they ambush it.
Really?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's cool.
That's good.
But
I've never had a cichlid go that far for one.
Oh yeah, no, it's crazy. Neither have I, and they're not the big ones, the little ones, not the big ones, and these are just they're absolutely demolishing
That's
it.
cool.
It's really cool.
They may be getting hungry in some of these low water pools and
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
starving to death.
Yeah,
It
really.
could be it.
Using the last bit of effort just to like, oh, one last meal,
Yeah.
and then like,
Yeah.
oh, it was a fly.
Yeah, that's okay. But yeah, and then time flies. That's all I do.
What are you tying right now?
Right now I'm sitting on Landon's couch, not tying anything. No, I don't know. I'm screwing out with streamers.
That gives me an idea, though. Would you like to be, if we set up a little table in front of you,
You know
while
what?
we're recording, since it's on video now, it might be a cool idea if you were tying.
Especially since you don't have
He-
your phone with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
since you don't
I
have your
need
phone.
s- I need
he
something to
runs the
distract
board,
me.
I run the computer,
And you run the flies.
Mm-hmm.
and the guest is already always nervous and trying to figure out where to go in, so they don't need anything else. But you, maybe like having a little table in front of you.
I thought about that. I didn't know how you felt about it being in the living room.
Oh, dude, I got a vacuum.
Perfect.
Just don't drop a hook on the ground.
No promises.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Fidget spinner.
Yeah. Yeah, but we could get you a little.
I've got a
we
table.
could get you a TV tray.
I've got one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring it next time,
Yeah,
and you
I'll
can
bring
tie
it.
on the
Yeah, cool.
podcast.
I'll be the interesting one next time. Maybe not. No,
You're
we have a
always
guest
the
next time,
interesting.
right?
You're always the
Yeah,
interesting
okay.
one. But we have to cut out the interesting parts.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, interesting parts aren't always podcast appropriate.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Zach, because
Okay.
you've been hitting it really hard.
Okay. Hitting what?
You've been hitting tying and fishing really hard.
Okay.
And last time you hit tying and fishing really hard, you burned out and crashed and had a fly fishing retirement for like 2 years.
Yeah.
That you fell off the radar and we never heard from you.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm kind of worried. Do you feel like you're going to burn out on this? Like,
No, I don't think so. Something feels different this
The
time.
newfound passion.
Well,
it's the podcast, right?
no.
Is it? Do you feel less pressure?
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know. Something just feels different. It doesn't feel like a job. Last time it felt like a job. But then
Gotcha.
again, no, yeah, last time it felt like a job. It doesn't feel like that this time. I don't know.
Good.
I'm tying a lot less, I guess. I tie 2 flies a day and that's it. Maybe that's why.
Okay.
Like the 2 flies that I put in the pictures, those are the only 2 I tied that day and that's it.
Okay. Yeah.
So I stop. I don't sit there and get home from work and tie until I go to sleep at night.
Moderation.
Exactly. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm gonna burn out.
Okay.
We'll see. I didn't think I was gonna burn out the first time either. But
Well,
if that's the case, if I burn out, we can just go back to talking about baseball.
Your favorite thing.
Yeah.
your favorite. Any sports.
Any
Yeah.
sport.
Any sports.
That's specifically baseball.
Yeah.
What you need to do is just pick an obscure sport that you're interested in, learn about it, and bring it to the
Curling.
table. Curling? Okay.
Curling, yeah.
I feel like that's everyone's like obscure go-to sport.
That's just the most obscure one I could think of.
Yeah.
UFC would be a good one.
UFC?
MMA? No.
Yeah.
Boxing?
Nah.
No.
No, that's kind of
Start.
I think
Oh, cornhole.
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 That's a big thing
legit
now.
thing
Yeah.
cornhole or the ring toss game.
Pickleball.
So the,
Ooh,
the ring
oh,
toss,
pickleball. That
not
would
like
be-
washers, but like where it's hanging from a string.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh,
these guys
yeah,
know.
yeah,
we played
yeah.
at Real Recovery.
Hook on the wall.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've got one in my house. Yep.
No,
Yep. Yep.
You're
yeah.
my kind of guy, Chad.
Hey, this next school year though, I'm going to be the esports coach. So actually, that is a sport that I can talk to you about.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
the,
we can talk Smash Bros all day
the
long.
first semester, yeah, we're doing Smash Brothers tournaments, and then the second
Really?
semester is Mario Kart. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Is there an age limit?
yes. Yes. 12 and 13.
Oh, I don't want anything. Never mind.
So esports is a thing now.
It's a thing. Yeah, it's been going on. I mean, like ESPN.
You
is doing
compete
stuff.
against other schools.
Yeah, we have an actual team on campus that I'm going to be coaching.
I feel like it.
And you play against them online, or you like
No,
meet
like
up?
there's a Saturday in October and a Saturday in December where we will go with other schools and compete against them.
No way.
do you think it's if
Yeah.
you can't beat them, join them kind of thing? Like kids are gonna play video games regardless, so we might as well like
I
make it into a learning situation.
I
Like,
think that's part of it. You know, I think that so many kids, and to be honest, like there's a lot of kids who aren't interested in traditional sports, and they do like that, but they also like want to compete with their friends and do that
Want to
kind
be a
of stuff.
part of something.
Exactly. And so I do think that they're doing that.
It is
and
good socially.
Really, right. And then like a ton of people, like more people are watching these esport tournaments than are watching like the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, more people are watching an
Oh, dude,
esports
it's
tournament
ridiculous.
than the
You
Super
should
like
Bowl.
hundreds of millions of people watch esports
Wow.
tournaments.
Well, I'm talking about like a single or like if you took all the esports tournaments and added them together, it's more than the Super Bowl. I'm wondering if it's like one event is more than the Super Bowl.
One event is more than the Super Bowl.
You should see. So
What?
I like to play fighting games.
Yeah, the fighting
And
games are some of the biggest ones.
Evo was recently, and it's like Street Fighter 6 had just come
Yeah.
out. Oh, dude. It's disgustingly huge.
Yeah,
Like,
if we
it
had our
was
phones, we
massive.
could confirm the numbers, but
Yeah, but somebody took them away from us.
I think that's a pretty cool idea, having an outlet for those kids
Oh,
to
yeah.
do that, because it's been around. Even I think, had that been around, I might not have the aversion to technology that I have nowadays. Because when I was a kid, it was always get off the video games.
Yeah.
You're going to ruin your life.
Mhm.
It's just going to turn your brain to mush. And now that they have a actual team competition,
Yeah.
good.
Well,
Well,
they can still learn skills like being coachable.
well, and that's the thing too.
And
There's a big push towards like how to be good winners, but also good losers as well. Like that's a big effort in this.
There's a
first semester.
teamwork aspect of
Right.
it. If you're like competing with other people, how do we let the team win, and like strategizing and all that kind of stuff that is
That's
good
pretty-
skills.
That's
Pretty cool.
I'm really excited. Like I told some kids about it yesterday at prep day, and they were like, "Oh, I didn't know that was going to be a thing," and they're like really pumped for it.
A lot goes into learning to play those games really well too. It's not just like you pick it up and play it and you're good at it. Like it's hard, man.
Yeah.
Not just the fighting games either, but like Call of Duty or whatever they play.
Right.
Fortnite. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't play those.
They're into Rainbow Six Siege.
I don't know what that is.
So it's like a Call of Duty game.
Okay.
So I haven't been fishing, but I've been tying some flies up.
What are you
It's been
tying?
really good. Tied some Avalon crabs, which is a super fun tie. But I've been doing a lot of not just tying the fly, but a lot of experimenting, tinkering, changing some materials, substituting some things, either because I don't have the material or I want to make a change to do something. So it's been a lot of it's really been a good learning experience to like tinker and like, okay, this material works, this material doesn't work, and I'm going through a lot of stuff that I normally don't use and figuring out how to use it. So it's been really good because I'm always been pretty much like I like to tie easy flies, simple, couple materials.
Sounds like an excuse to me.
What sounds like an excuse?
I like to tie easy flies.
No. Traditionally, yes, but now, like, I've always been like, I'm not a super creative person, so I've always been like, okay, this is the pattern, these are the materials, this is how you tie it. I'm trying to break away from that, being like, okay, this is the pattern, these are the materials, but I'm gonna try swapping this for this because I have this, and I have this.
Yeah.
Hog
Comes the
hair.
dark side.
I'm
See,
like,
the funny thing is, he's like the exact opposite.
yeah,
I'm like-
He doesn't read recipes. He's like, I like this one.
yeah.
I like
it
these
looks like
materials.
it has this, and this, and this. So
Yeah.
let's see what it turns out.
If it sparkles, it goes on the hook every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know a fish that doesn't eat something that's sparkly outside of carp?
Hey, well, hang on. There's a few carp flies that are nothing but like cactus chenilles. So
Okay. See, so
Yeah.
a sparkle catches everything.
I'm not dogging you. I'm just saying it's like yin and yang right here.
Yeah, it's coming together.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's.
Oh, but on that, real quick, I watched this video earlier where
No.
a guy took a photo at an aquarium with his flash on, and I don't know what happened, but I guess a fish saw it and thought it was something sparkly and like swam towards it so fast it actually ran to the glass and like killed itself. Like,
What?
yeah, like it was
it a
crazy.
tuna? What was it?
Yeah, I mean, like it was like one of those huge aquariums with
Okay.
saltwater
so
fish.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but like they used flash on the camera, and just one of the fish just saw it and was just like beelined right towards it, ran to the glass, and immediately just like.
I
crumbled.
recently saw an aquarium video where a shark ate a stingray
What
in the
happened?
tank, and it was like bit it, was thrashing it, blood was going everywhere in the water, and then kids in the background were just
Freaking out.
screaming. Yeah,
Circle of
yeah,
life.
circle of life. So, All right.
I mean, if you had me in a room with a bunch of cheeseburgers and told me, no, you can't eat those, I'm just going to say, I probably would eat one or two of them at some point.
Really, cheeseburgers? Are they unwrapped or are they ready to go? Or
I'm talking about, like, I'm referring to sharks and stingrays.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I get it. It's just.
I think you took it too far.
It's a lot of effort to eat it. I mean, like maybe like popcorn chicken. Just grab one and pop it in. You know?
No, cheeseburgers, like McDoubles. Every time I go fishing when I'm done, I get 4 McDoubles.
4?
4?
Every time.
And you just like hammer through them?
Yep.
Wow.
I go through the drive-thru. I don't get out of my truck. I park. I go through the drive-thru and park and smash them real quick, and then I'm out. I go home.
Nice.
Dang.
That's your post-fishing.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
my success. That's my trophy.
That's your trophy.
My reward.
Nice.
Do you guys like sausage wraps? Like sausage in a tortilla?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a couple yesterday, and I told Kendall that's what they gave us for lunch, and she was like, what's a sausage wrap?
A little mustard, maybe?
Yeah, mustard.
Oh, yeah.
Some
Little
shredded
ketchup.
cheese.
Oh,
I'd eat that
yeah.
for lunch. I'd eat that for lunch.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah.
They're easy. They're not like sloppy, so you can wrap them up and put them in a backpack. And
That's why they did it, I think, because they can make so many of them,
Yeah.
and they just wrapped each one in foil, and you just grab it and go.
Yeah.
you can make them for like 50 cents.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
That's
think.
good.
I don't know about nowadays, but at some point you could, I'm sure.
Everything's gotten so expensive nowadays.
So, we're going to play our game that we've been playing the last couple weeks.
Okay, random fly game.
Random fly game.
Okay.
Here are the parameters,
Okay.
and I'll explain the rules so you understand what's going on, because you'll participate too.
Uh-oh.
So,
That doesn't count. He's a guide. It's not fair.
There's no winner. There's no rules.
I feel like there's a winner every time, and it's me.
You're going to rank these flies in order from 1 to 5, 1 being the fly that will catch the most fish species.
Okay.
So the most versatile fly. The thing about this game is that you have to, I'm going to give you the first one. You have to rank it from 1 to 5, but you don't know what the next flies are on the list. So
I have to put it in a place.
you have
Yeah.
to put it in a
And
place.
you can't change it. And your 5th fly that he gives you, it just goes wherever your empty spot is.
Yep.
Okay. Easy enough.
It
So-
can get a little heated.
It does get heated. Yeah. So this is what can catch the most species of fish.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Wait, what are the rules this time? I wasn't paying attention.
Most versatile fly as far as catching the most species of fish.
Okay, I'm holding out my number 1 slot. There's a certain pattern that I use for everything. All right, go on.
Okay.
Are these common patterns? Like it's not going to be some off. the
Everybody
wall?
here will know what these
Know it?
patterns
Okay.
are. Yeah.
Natalie Portman shaved head.
Natalie Portman shaved head.
Yep.
That's a fly.
It is.
Never heard of it.
What?
It is. That was from our old game
Flyer band.
flyer band where we would give a
Wait,
fly.
that's actually a fly? Natalie
Portman
Portman
shaved head.
Really? I'm going to have to look into it. It's a streamer?
I don't know. I
No?
can't remember.
All the streamers have weird names like that.
No, it was
Like
a fun game. Yeah, it was called Fly
Like
or
or
band,
band.
and you had to say if it was an indie band or an obscure fly name.
My recent favorite one is the Knuckle Deep. I like that one. What? It's a fly name. Don't be dirty.
Yep.
All right. Crease fly.
A grease fly?
Crease fly.
Crease.
Okay, I don't even know that.
Like,
fly.
You don't know what a-
like a taco pescado.
Yeah.
Don't know what a taco pescado is.
It's a piece of foam folded
Folded
in
in half. It's kind of like a popper.
It's a popper.
Looks
Oh,
like a
so it's
little-
literally it's
And
called a crease
crease
fly
fly.
because it's a piece of foam creased over.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
usually like a little bait fish or minnow
Yeah.
kinda
Yeah.
looking.
Little hair
Oh,
sticking
okay,
out the
okay.
back sometimes. Like,
Gotcha.
hey, how high does it cut? Like, what's the lowest part of me you can see?
The whole kit and caboodle.
This might not be part of the podcast. What's the lowest point?
Tell you what,
can
you
see?
keep going, and I'll tell you when to stop.
yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, that's not good.
Yeah. You okay?
I've got a scratch.
You can do your scratch.
No, it's cool. I'll just suffer it.
Especially now that you've called attention to it.
Yeah.
That's gonna make a great.
Well,
like,
dude, it's either
Instagram
I
clip.
ask you guys or I just do it. And
You should have just done it.
That's true.
Nobody
Mm.
would have
Because-
noticed.
Nobody
See-
would have noticed.
See how everybody else's camera's going straight on, yours is artistic?
I feel
That's what
mine's what?
yours is artistic. Like you
Oh.
got the angle going on.
I feel like it's funnier to ask things like
It
that.
is. It is.
Crease fly.
Who goes first?
Yeah, you can just shout it out.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just shout it
I'm
out.
gonna say 4. 4, like one being catches the most different species, right?
One being the fly that catches the most
Okay.
species.
Well, that's relevant, I think, or that's what's the word? Relevant? Not relevant. That's relevant to the situation, I guess. Like
Yeah.
a lot of flies can catch a lot of species.
Right.
Maybe you should rethink this rule.
You guys are just complaining because you always complain.
There's no perfect way to play
I'm
this
just
game.
saying. I'm just saying, man.
Yeah, I'm going 4.
I'm holding out for some traditionals on here, so I'm going to put the crease fly number 5.
Yeah.
Number 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it. I use it. Just not one of mine that I go to for everything.
Yeah.
I'll give it a 3.
A 3? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Well, whatever.
Got to be different.
Okay. The next one we are going to do is a woolly bugger.
Oh.
I'm going to go number 1 all around.
Yeah.
I mean,
that
that's the-
feels right, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll also give that one a 3.
can't do that. You can't do that.
You're going 1 as well?
And like the only thing that would be different is if you said Klaus or Minnow.
Yeah, that's what the other
That-
one I'm.
That's the only. But you know what? Okay, I'm gonna go 1. Yep.
2.
Okay.
No.
You're holding out for the Minnow.
No, there's something else I'm
No?
holding out for that I'm pretty sure it's on this list. But you know what? Landon probably knows what I'm talking about, so he probably is going to ignore it if he wrote it on the list. Just come up with a different one.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm sticking to my list.
Perfect.
Scruple.
Headstand. Egan's headstand.
What numbers have I used already?
3 and 2.
Yeah, 3 and 2.
4.
I'm going to go 4.
Yeah.
I've caught panfish and bass off of it.
You can catch pretty much everything here with it, but
Yeah.
it's just not like its usability is not versatile, I don't think.
I'm gonna
Like,
go.
if it's tied the way it's supposed to be tied.
It was a carp
I'm gonna-
fly
I'm gonna-
initially, wasn't it?
I'm
Right.
gonna go
Yeah.
5.
You're going to go 5?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
put it at 5. I've already used 4. I do think the popper probably would catch a little bit more than that.
Klaus or minnow?
2.
Yeah, it's gotta go 2 then.
Yep.
What numbers have I used again?
You have 1 and 5
1 and 5?
left over.
5. I don't fish clouds or minnows.
It doesn't matter if you fish it. It's the most versatile.
I'm holding out for my number
Well,
one.
he's
slot.
not winning this round, that's for sure.
No, because you guys are stuck with a squirmy worm.
Shit.
And what I have
It's
3
not
left,
what I was hoping you would say.
and I have 3 left over.
But yeah, you two have 3 and you have 1.
But you know what? Live worms catches anything. So squirmy worm.
Actually, you know what?
I'll give it a 1.
That's a good argument.
Yeah.
I could take that.
I'm
I've
okay
caught
with that.
bass and panfish
Yeah.
and
Trout,
catfish
yeah.
on a squirm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty happy with my order.
Yep.
So you ended with woolly bugger, clouser, squirmy worm, headstand, crease fly.
Yeah, I like that order because I have the crease fly and the headstand swapped. I have.
That's the only thing I would do different,
Go
just
ahead.
because I like fishing topwater more than the little carp stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have woolly bugger, clouser, squirmy worm, crease fly, headstand.
Yeah.
And you ended up with squirmy worm, woolly bugger, crease fly, headstand, clouser.
Just feels random. Just feels like you lost this time. I don't know. I don't know why.
I don't want to hear it. All you do is go to your secret spot on the quad and catch a little sunfish.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. And what was your number 1? What was his number 1?
Woolly
Woolly
bugger.
booger.
Oh, I thought it was Clouser. Was yours Clouser?
No.
Woolly
No.
booger too.
Yeah.
Oh. That's why you only catch sunfish. Not you. You're a guide. You don't count.
You know, I hardly actually even fish a woolly bugger.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I think when I first got started, probably all of us, well, except for you,
Yeah.
I think that's all I fished for
Yeah.
a while. It's woolly buggers. And then I found the real getter.
I did. You know, when I first started, I fished woolly bugger and a gurgler a lot. Those were the two.
Dude, the Rio Getter will catch anything.
Oh yeah, Rio Getter after like
Anything.
Is that what you thought I was going to say?
Yeah. I was really hoping for that. But I'm serious. You could see a 5-pound bass, which has happened there, that won't touch any flies, but you let a Rio Getter, you do a drag and drop with a Rio Getter, they'll eat it every time.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, every time I've done it anyway.
No, I mean that's for our river. I would say that's probably the most productive fly.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's
at least for
kind
me.
of
For me, it is.
Yeah, it's kind of like a woolly bugger, I guess, but a really small version. I don't know. They're cool.
Yeah, woolly buggers don't have enough color for me to fish them all the time, though. I know you can time
Right.
with color,
And they're not shiny enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's no, eyes on it. It's just a cone head, and I'm
Right.
like, I want something that looks like something else.
Well, you could put eyes on it.
I know.
So I'm confused. What's the problem?
I don't know. I just don't like time woolly buggers, I guess.
So I found this guy posted this Instagram
Wait,
account.
what's your list? You don't get to miss out on this.
What would my list be?
Yeah, what's your order?
My order, if I was going to order them and I knew in advance what all of them were because, you guys are at a disadvantage, I would do clouser, woolly bugger, squirmy worm, headstand crease fly.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clouser, you fish clousers a lot? Have
Uh,
you fished it enough to be it sounds like you're confident that it'll catch a lot. I'm not saying it won't. I just
oh, dude, you could catch anything on a clouser.
really.
Especially making
See,
time.
The clouser is the fly that has caught the most fish species.
I want to say, I think it has been.
It's like
Confirmed.
confirmed, and it's like
Yeah.
hundreds of species.
Well, I mean I'm not disagreeing with that, but me, like, personally, for some reason, I've got it stuck in my head that clousers, like, for certain species. Like, if I go after a striper, I'll throw a clouser all day long.
Oh yeah.
But, like, bass, I don't know. I think that's the conventional side coming out of me. Like, I want more hair, more rubber legs or whatever coming off
More
of it.
color.
Yeah. I'm not trash talking the clouser by any means. I was just hearing your thought on it.
Yeah.
And I think like the clouser right now with like really low conditions, clear water ish, but like a really sparsely tied clouser like on bead chain.
Yeah.
Is probably the way to go. You get this really soft landing and it's just kind of barely any hair there. I think that's the way to go. I would fish it like in these conditions, but like normal conditions, I don't really fish them that much. But I'll fish them at the coast all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clousers clean up. Well, you throw anything in front of a redfish, though, it's pretty much
Get it in front
gonna
of his
eat.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to throw clousers in the green lights down there.
Oh, yeah.
You catch, I mean, they're not all big, but you can catch 100 trout in a night, no problem.
Good.
On a clouser, yeah. Pretty cool.
And clousers, like, for white bass are
The go-to.
the only thing that you throw, basically.
Yep.
I mean, not the only thing. That's an exaggeration, but, like, I think I've only ever thrown clousers for white bass, so some other guys throw some different things, and they might throw, like, marabou clousers or, like, switch them up a little bit, but it's just basically
Half
the
and half.
clouse,
Yeah.
the clouser platform.
That one white bass I caught with you that was like this big was on a brunch money.
Yep.
I think.
Dude, you clean up on
I
the
remember
brunch money,
it was
though.
white and pink, actually.
Pink and white.
I remember. I remember that was a weird area to catch a white bass.
Yeah,
in.
on a weird fly too.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
We were up in Comfort,
On the quad.
Yeah.
and he pulled a white bass, and I'm just out of the know, but it seemed like really far away to be catching white bass from where people normally catch them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, it was only this big though. I've got a picture.
I don't even
of
think it was that big. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
It was
tiny
little.
little thing.
That was my first one, so I'll take it.
So this guy on Instagram, Trout for Brains, is his account.
I would love to look at his account.
You can't.
I know.
So I'm going to tell you.
I know. We should get a big screen. We have a big screen. Look at that. We could screen share.
Oh,
Maybe. I'm not going to set that up right now, though. But what I'm going to tell you what's happening is he posted, like, fly fishing hot takes,
Okay.
basically.
So you want our opinions on these hot takes?
Yeah, I want your opinions on these hot takes.
I like this idea.
So, if I and there's like 20, so if I say one and you have a strong opinion on it, go for it. Just
Okay.
let us know what you think.
Let me get comfortable here. Go on.
Okay. Fishing in well-stocked urban ponds is just as challenging as in remote wilderness areas.
Come
Yeah,
on.
okay. What?
Who is this guy? Really?
Yeah, that's what it says. I'm reading.
Wait, okay, maybe I
verbatim.
misunderstood what's going on here. Like, so he's agreeing with that, or he's...
Yes.
This
he's
is
making
his
fun of it.
opinion. This is his opinion and hot take, basically.
So fishing well-stocked urban
yeah.
is just as hard as fishing like
well-stocked
a wild...
urban ponds is just as challenging as in remote wilderness areas.
I disagree.
I don't know.
You know what? Actually,
I feel like remote wilderness areas, you get fish that aren't fished at all. Like if I think about the times I've gone trout fishing in very remote places, it's like the easiest fishing of my life.
That's true. Like
but if
overall
I
effort
think
is hard,
the effort to get there is hard, but when I think about like a San Antonio pond stocked with bass,
it's tough fishing.
Have you ever thrown a fly to a bass that gets fished for all day long?
Yeah, it's tough.
Have you ever caught one?
Yeah.
It's pretty... It takes... You got to cast to a lot of fish before you get an eat, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so... And think about what you just said, though. That wilderness is easy once you get there. So
Yeah,
it's
so
like
I'm actually,
opposites.
so you're going to agree with this guy.
I'm agreeing with him.
Agreeing? Wait a minute. Okay, I'm really confused,
No.
apparently.
He is saying that fishing in a
Thought he said it was
neighborhood
the
pond
same.
is the same difficulty as fishing like a wild stream.
Depends on what you want to quantify difficulty as.
True.
Difficulty
Okay.
getting back to the back country to go catch some of those little tiny trout or whatever may be challenging to some folks. Walking up to the park pond over here to catch these stocker trout maybe easy as just walking over to the curb, you know. But catching those picky fish that are in the stocked pond may be challenging. So I guess it depends on.
Okay, I didn't think about it like that. That's
Yeah.
that's pretty analytical. I like that answer.
Maybe
I
it's
agree with
easier to
Judd.
get a wild fish that doesn't see a lot of flies to eat
Easier.
Easier, yeah.
than a fish that sees everything all day long.
See, that's what I was thinking about is the willingness to eat a fly. I feel like the wild distant fish are easier than a fish that gets fished for all day long.
Yeah,
Sure.
I can see
But
that.
I didn't think about the other side of things. That's a pretty good way of looking at
The
it.
actual effort to
Yeah.
even like if you take the whole day into effect, or into account.
All right. Synthetic flies are just as effective as traditional ones and sometimes even better.
Okay.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Yeah. I feel like that's a hot take.
Depends on what flies you're fishing, though, too.
Yeah, I would say most of my trout nymphs, I'm pretty hung up on having natural materials. Nothing moves in the water like CDC, marabou, certain things.
Yeah.
You can recreate some things with synthetic, but I'm definitely hung on the
Depends on the fly.
natural. Yeah, it depends on the fly. Maybe what I'm fishing for. I have a lot of synthetic stuff in my bass flies,
Yeah.
a lot in
Yeah.
the saltwater flies.
I would say I preference natural, but I would agree that sometimes synthetic flies are better.
See, the thing that the reason I see synthetic as better, I mean, it's a small reason in the whole big picture, but is that so I can order a package of EP fibers 100 times and they're all going to be exactly the same. I can order 100, I don't know, Indian hidden saddles and they're all going to be completely different from each other, and that's frustrating to me.
Well, that's a tier's perspective, though. What about from a fishing perspective?
I didn't hear fishing or tying perspective in the question.
But it's just the flies.
Yeah.
The effectiveness of a fly would be determined based on its ability to catch a fish.
Oh, I didn't hear that part. I think I butted in when you were talking.
What could you use as like a hare's ear? Like what could you use that would be synthetic?
Well, you can use like Whitlock's FS blend dubbing
do
or
make-
something.
yeah, synthetic
Yeah.
Dubbing and
blends.
stuff.
Mhm.
Okay.
But I'm thinking like your example of
marabou.
CDC. CDC is my favorite material. Nothing moves like CDC. Marabou is impossible to replace synthetically.
Yeah.
Natural hare's ear, dubbing. It's got the guard hair and the under fur. It's
Yeah.
got its own little spikiness when you comb it out and stuff. It's like even with the synthetic, it doesn't look tapered,
It's not the
natural.
same.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
It looks chunky, blocky, chopped off. Again, the natural stuff just got that natural motion.
The next one is the material used for tying flies matters less than the fly's general profile and movement.
I don't understand the question. or the statement, the materials
like
used.
he's coming at it from like my perspective that
Yes.
like if I get materials that look like and act similar enough
to a crawfish.
right,
To a
that
crawfish's profile versus one of your flies that looks more specifically like a crawfish. His the general profile is a lot more important than the actual like getting it to specifically look like a.
Read it one more time.
yeah,
Let me
read
hear
one
that
more
one more
time.
time.
I didn't hear that way.
The material used for tying flies matters less than the fly's general profile and movement.
I don't think you explained it right.
Yeah, I think it's like as long as you get the same motion
Same, yeah,
and same profile out of it.
yeah. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, but it depends though, because some materials are going to soak up more water than others. So your profile might be the same, but your swimming
motion.
action will be completely different. You know, sink rate, whatever.
Let me give you guys.
So that's like a 50-50.
Yeah, I got you. Let me give you the next one. I'm gonna go get my charger because the computer's about to die. I forgot having 4 things plugged into it. It's probably killing the
Draining the
battery. Landing nets are unnecessary. You can simply land
False.
fish by hand.
Yeah, I'm gonna say false for sure. Well, what do you think?
Landing net to close the deal for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times I go out without a landing net because I don't want to carry a bunch of stuff with me. If I'm just kind of like bringing, a box of flies in my pocket and hemos with me in my rod, but I feel like there's a greater chance, especially if you're fishing barbless hooks, that you're going to lose the fish,
Sure.
especially right as you're bringing it into you.
From a guide perspective, I had a guide buddy of mine long ago. I asked him, I was doing a double boat with him. We were bass fishing, and I just asked him casually before we started the day if I needed to bring my landing net, because all of my bass fishing, I just lip the bass out of the water, pick him up. And he made a good point to me. He's like, your client's not going to do that. You need to have that net to secure that fish for that client, because he's not going to be able to bend over in the raft, whether he's physically incapable or whatever. Right. You need to close that deal. So have that net always, whether it's – and anytime I trout fished, that was a given. The net was with me, but prior to that trip, when I bass fished, the net may or may not be in the boat because I just – and, yeah, I would hate to lose – a nice bass for a client because I didn't have that net just to easily slip it under, trying to lip the fish instead. So
that's a great perspective because it's totally different if you're doing it for somebody else. Like even if you're taking a buddy out fishing for the first time or whatever, like you just want to make sure that like you work hard for that fish. You know, nothing's worse than losing. If you do it yourself, it's a little bit like, oh, okay, whatever, but.
Kind of depends on your terrain too. Like if you're fishing some of these urban, areas, you're not right on the water. You're not in the water. You're 3 or 4 foot off of the water, maybe sometimes, and you can't just reach down and grab it. Sure. You got to have something that can extend
Well, and then for trout fishing, it's about like the actual health of the fish.
Yeah,
a landing net actually is taking better care of the fish and of the resource.
Yeah, absolutely. You're landing him quicker, getting him in the net instead of fighting the fish to exhaustion and then releasing him once he's totally give out.
Yep.
Traditional bamboo rods are more of a collector's item than a practical fishing tool.
I've never used one, so I'm out on that one.
I've used them. To me, if it was just me using it, I like using them. They're fun, but I appreciate the modern rod technology that's out there and durability of it, and also, too, just the time and energy put into making one of those rods. I'd hate to break it out there just messing around on the river.
I would say if I was like fishing like a small mountain stream, fishing dry flies like all the time, bamboo rod, perfect. It was like built for that. That's like its moment. But everything else, I'd rather have a modern rod.
Yeah, I've just casted one, but like you said, the amount of effort and time and money it goes, I feel like every cast I make, I'm just thinking like, oh, what if I break it?
Yeah.
What if I break it? Just
that fly just hit the tip now, and it's got a weak spot there.
Yeah, it adds a level of pressure to fishing that I don't need.
Yeah, but if you're fishing like I said, if you're doing just small dry flies, you'll never like damage your rod by hitting your rod.
I don't know, but just even just catching like a big fish on it, like. You know,
Bamboos.
I've never broken a rod by fighting a fish, but I feel like if I fished a bamboo rod, that is the only thing I'd be thinking about.
And bamboo's stronger than glass and carbon.
It's
stronger. It's a stronger material. It's
so
really
much
not
pressure.
though.
But I guess if I had all the money in the world, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I had a guy that showed up. He won one of the bamboo rods at Trout Fest a few years ago. Showed up with a 3-weight, wanting to fish the Guadalupe for trout with a 3-weight bamboo rod. I'm just like, are you crazy? I don't even know how much money you spent on this rod. And he proceeded to show me how to catch Guadalupe trout with a 3-weight bamboo rod.
Dang, yeah.
I was nervous the whole day. He was going to fall out of the boat directly and onto that rod and crush it, but
man.
never happened. So.
Yeah.
And he landed some nice fish with it, so it can be done.
Yep. Oh man.
Fly tying is a waste of time. Store-bought flies are just as effective.
You out? You quitting? I actually think he's using this as a bathroom break as well.
I want to hear what he has to say when he gets back.
I know.
I have certain flies in my box that I have tweaked over the years. They may be a variation of an old existing pattern, but there is nowhere any fly shop in the world has these flies. And both here in the Guad and in Colorado where I fish, they were effective flies, I think, just because of the subtle differences from the commercially produced.
What kind of flies were they?
I had a couple Baetis nymphs,
Okay.
a slate drake nymph that I fished here on the Guad that crossed over for a drake nymph in Colorado. My version of a squirmy worm, slightly different than most.
Okay.
The way people attach it to the hook, I do it a little different fashion to give it some different profile or movement in the water versus the traditional way I see it commercially tied.
Yeah.
And so, I think, a lot of times I find it to be a waste of my personal fun time because as a guide, I'm coming home from the river. We may have lost all those flies that day that are working that I can't go buy at the shop. And now I have to sit down at the vise and tie flies. And it's the last thing I want to do when I'm tired and got to wash the boat and make lunches and spend some amount of time with the family. Then I got to go tie some flies.
Yeah.
So it not always my favorite thing, but definitely not a waste of time.
Thanks for joining us.
Damn it. Did I not miss it?
No.
I didn't even talk yet.
No? All right, you go first. I got a long answer, I think.
Yeah,
What the?
Yeah, go ahead.
I tie with too much color. That you can't buy that.
It's a really weird reason.
Yeah. You can't buy flies with that much color. But also there are flies though too that like I've tweaked over the years or I've done little things to them, you know. So
okay. Should we wait for him to?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So the thing was fly tying is a waste of time.
Store-bought flies are just as effective.
That's not completely wrong. There's nothing wrong with buying your own flies or buying flies, right? There's some really I buy flies. Like I went to Real Fly and they had, man, I can never remember the name of this fly, but it was the nastiest streamer I've ever seen and I had to have it. So I bought like 3. Mm-hmm. But there's first of all, there's nothing like tying your own flies and then going out and targeting a specific fish and catching that fish on the fly you tied to catch that fish. Yeah. So there's that. Also, you can customize flies to your own water. Yeah. Like what if you want a sex dungeon, but you're fishing in 2 foot of water and it's too heavy and there's a lot of cover? Well, you could tie it hook up. You could tie it with bead chain. Like being able to tie your own flies is, if you can do it, I think it's completely necessary.
What if you want a spooky reel getter? You know,
what?
A spooky reel getter.
What's a spooky reel getter?
It's a reel getter that's purple and orange, like it's spooky season colors.
Yeah, Matt, do you tie purple and orange reel getters? I don't think I've seen that one yet.
I do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't buy it.
No, exactly.
But I don't know. I think there's a lot. Like we could talk about this all night if you really want to.
I think waste of time is strong wording. That makes it come off very strong. Yeah. Like it's a complete waste of time.
Well, hang on.
I would say
you could be doing better things with your life.
Hey, now. I think if you're getting into tying flies to save money, yeah, it's a waste of time because you're going to spend more money
for sure
by tying your own flies. Like substantial amounts more.
Yeah.
Than, because you're going to get into tying. You're not going to. Most people, I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of people who start tying tie all sorts of flies. I'm getting ready to tie fly. Well, I'll hopefully use them soon, but I'm getting ready to tie big Dorado flies. I don't fish Dorado very often, but I've never fished Dorado. But yeah, you're going to spend a lot more. In that sense, yes, it's a waste of time. Don't do it if you're doing it to save money.
But if you're doing it because every time you fish one, you get a little bit more satisfaction, I feel like, when you catch a fly or catch a fish on your own fly.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the first time you do it, it was like this huge monumental moment.
Mm-hmm.
But like even now, like if I am fishing with people and you give out your flies or you just catch one on a new fly pattern or something, there's still a little bit of like, oh yeah, like I did something right,
Yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with buying flies,
No.
but there's definitely nothing wrong with tying them.
No.
This Trout for Brains guy, I don't think we'd be friends. Or is it somebody that I know? Because
No.
the look you just...
No, they keep getting good. So catch and release practices do more harm than good, disrupting
Wow.
fish populations.
What?
Okay, this guy.
That doesn't make any sense.
Get him out of here. He probably doesn't even fish. He probably sits at home and plays like Wii fishing.
The Bassmaster Classic.
I don't know this person, right?
No, you
Okay,
don't.
good.
I don't think you do.
I don't know. Is it somebody from around here?
No, I don't think so.
Good.
Good. Good. Don't tell me if it is. That I don't feel like that makes any sense.
It makes no sense. Like, as a guide, what do you think?
Less fish in the water means less fish to catch next time. I don't know. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the whole point is like conservation? Like,
There are people that live in this world though, where they think that catch and release is not good, and if they're gonna catch fish, they're going to keep them and they're going to eat them.
now if they're
But
if
they
people,
see catch and release as like a waste of time torturing fish.
now for the people that like lip trout and then put them back in the water, yeah, that might not be a good
Right.
thing. Or hold them by the gill plates and take their picture and then put them back in the water. Yeah, that's horrible. That's not good at all. But if you're doing it right, it's way better than. I mean, it's way good for the ecosystem and everything. It's
Right.
the populations and all that. I don't know who this is, but I'm
I mean,
over it.
if you think about it, why
ready to go
does
home.
Texas Parks and Wildlife put restrictions on catching sea trout or
Yeah.
redfish?
Right.
Exactly. Which didn't they up it recently? Like the bag limit.
The bag limit of
It was
trout
like
changed,
3 to 5.
but I'd have to look at it again.
Yeah, I mean, don't
Oh
count
no,
me
it
on
was
that.
the length. They lowered the length or something like that. I forget.
I'll research it for the next episode,
Yeah.
and we can talk about it then.
It was a big deal for a while. I don't remember what it was. Must not have been that big of a deal. It was anyway.
So that was a hot take nobody agreed with.
Fishing during the middle of the day can be more productive than during dawn or dusk.
Certain times.
Yeah.
Can be.
Certain species.
In Texas
Certain
right
species.
now, no.
No.
But
Well,
In
I'm gonna tell you-
October, warms up
Could
a
I'm
little bit.
going
in
to
the
tell
middle of the
you,
day.
those cichlids, it's been around 12 or 1 o'clock.
Really?
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's better than the morning, but I'm just saying
But I mean, would you
it's doable.
if you went out in the morning, would you catch those fish too?
Maybe not, because I'm sight fishing them. And if it's too early, the sun will be too low and I won't be able to see them.
Yeah.
Exactly. If it's 4 a.m.
Yeah. And actually, like, if you're sight fishing redfish, you might as well not even get on the boat at certain times of the day because you can't see. Like,
Yeah.
the higher the sun is, the easier it is to see in the water, right?
Yep.
So, I mean,
I think overall, though, morning and evening is definitely more productive. I mean, outside of, like, there are certain times of the
He
year.
said can be, which I think is the right
yeah,
word.
Yeah, it can
Which is
be.
the right.
That's a
Okay,
key
yeah.
phrase.
Yeah,
in
key
that.
phrase.
That's true. Okay,
like,
yeah. I guess we all have
the
to
words
agree.
matter. Yeah.
It can be more effective.
Yeah. Using bright, flashy flies in clear water can actually scare fish away.
Oh, yeah, no. That's bull. Depends what you're fishing for.
Depends how good you are at casting. Are you like slamming that fly on the water, or are you like actually presenting it nice?
Yeah, the right
Th-
presentation.
Do you
and
have a
right-
long leader, or are you fishing like a 3-foot leader? Like, there's a lot of other factors that go
Yeah,
into this other than just like.
But I feel like
What-
if you're fishing for bass or panfish, like I've never struggled throwing bright flies, flashy flies at that.
Yeah. Fishing from a boat is less rewarding than wading in a river.
I think they're different experiences.
Way different experiences. It's a team effort in the boat. You know, the guide's doing a lot of work that you may or may not realize. I would say more rewarding for me as an individual would be wade fishing because it's all me. Yeah. I caught the fish. I walked here. I found it. It's all on me versus me having to rely on a guide, maybe not as rewarding.
I agree. Even if it's not necessarily guided or whatever, if you're out there, sometimes fishing from a boat is hard, because, especially in like a river, because the water, you're not staying put. If you're standing there, you're in one spot, nothing changes. If you're in a boat, just slight little movements will change everything.
Yeah.
So I guess they both have their rewards. But I agree with you as far as being in the water. Like, I prefer that.
Yeah.
But
you guys prefer?
I still feel good either way. Like, if I catch a fish I'm wanting to catch wading or in a boat.
Fishing's that hard for you? You're just happy to catch one?
I'm just like, I'm not like, oh, I waited and caught this fish. Like that, I don't think about that. That doesn't give me like an extra sense of enjoyment. And I'm a big fan of team fishing too. Like when you're, on a boat with somebody else and you're working together, like if you're on a skiff at the coast and somebody's pulling and like one person, the person on the platform seeing fish and giving you directions, like that team effort is cool too. Like I don't feel a diminished value because I wasn't waiting for that fish, saw it myself, casted at it, and caught it. Like there's the teamwork aspect is fun.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's a lot of fun.
So there's actually a whole other list, but we're gonna save that for another show. We'll start talking to Judd about the Guad. So you wanted to talk this episode's all about the Guad.
Guadalupe River. Yeah, I've spent over half of my life now on the Guadalupe in some aspect, whether it's been guiding or working at a tube rental place, whitewater, just hanging out, being a river rat.
Okay,
so.
Let's start with the tube rental place. I'm sure you've got some good stories.
Sure.
Yeah, let's.
That's where it all began.
Let's. Tell us some good stories from working at a tube rental.
So I first came down to the Guad with my folks as a kid. We would come float the river and fell in love with the place. I'll start over again here. I'm originally from Abilene, West Texas.
Me too.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot of water out there, and amazingly, I fell in love with fishing. My grandparents had a lake house on Lake Brownwood. Spent most of my childhood summers there, developed a deep passion for fishing. Now, early days, it was all conventional gear fishing, bait and everything in between. My granddad had a fly rod. He didn't know what he was doing. I didn't either, but we would get that thing out every once in a while and go catch panfish with it. And that's, I think, where I picked up my love of fly fishing, watching him struggle to cast, and then even me struggling to cast. But it was just something drew me to that style of fishing. It wasn't until later that I got my own fly rod and kind of fell more into it, where I put aside the conventional gear. And not that I'm opposed to it. I still go spin fishing with the kiddos, but nowadays it's mostly my fishing with a fly rod. In college, I did more fly fishing on my own. It was kind of my own little secret thing, because a lot of my roommates and buddies would make fun of me for going fishing. Oh, you're going to go with your little fairy wand fishing today. I get it. Back then, everything, and again in Texas, we bass fish, glitter boats, heavy rods, big line, all that stuff. I can see where they definitely would get a kick out of me walking out of there with this little wimpy rod. But that's where I got more into the fly fishing thing. Fast forward into college a little bit more. My roommate, his dad owned Rio Raft, the tube place there at Fourth Crossing. So that's how I ended up in this part of the world. I came down with him a few times. During the summertime, I would come down and drive a shuttle bus on the weekend, just making some extra tip money. As a college kid, any extra money was always a given. Plus, you got free beers as tips driving a shuttle bus.
Yeah.
So that was
Now we're talking.
that was one of the things I learned my first day there. They told me get you a small cooler and just carry that in your shuttle van with you, and I figured out why. Because most people getting on the river don't carry a lot of things with them, especially money or a wallet, so they're not going to tip you. But they will tip you beers, especially if they've had a few before they get on that shuttle bus. I've walked out of there with cases of beer at the end of the day. Yeah, they're all different flavors, but it's 30-something beers in a row there. So
who do I send my application? Who takes that?
I started renting tubes, working with the guys there. Bunch of, for lack of a better term, river rats. Some of these guys, dating back to the early days of Rio Raft, the owners, friends and stuff. A bunch of old hippies that were kind of hanging around. A lot of these guys, whitewater junkies. A lot of them, again, literally old hippies. They just fell in love with the river. They made a life on the river. They ended up buying this piece of property and turning it into what we know as Rio Raft with the cabins and tube rentals and stuff. So a very interesting crowd that I worked with there. A lot of older guys that have seen things happen on the river. So I got to hear a lot of stories from, way back in the 40s and 50s before the dam was built. Things that happened after the dam was built, historic low flows, historic flood events and stuff like that. So it was kind of a neat thing to get a education on just this one piece of river, and even more so just this small section below Canyon Lake. We did venture out with the tube stuff and the whitewater stuff to other places. A lot of times when the water was too high on the below Canyon Dam, we would load up a bunch of our big whitewater boats and we'd go float the upper river. Because oftentimes if they're releasing water out of canyon, we're at flood stage. They're dumping water out, so there's water coming in. And it's a great whitewater float, both the lower Guad below canyon and the upper stuff. Really miss some of the water that we used to have fishing the upper, being able to float and fish some of that upper stretch without having to get out and walk, or seeing some of the pictures you showed me where it's, bone dry in places. And it's kind of sad to think back to, what used to be the normal flows in some of these places is now considered a freak event. We get that high flow of 150 CFS. Like that used to be a everyday thing. If anything below 150 was bad. And now we're kind of at that, anything pretty low is kind of a normal right now. So getting to see some of that change, working there with the tube stuff, it was a lot of fun. Over the years, I kind of grew to where I disliked some of the tube customers, if you will. I was young. I'm kind of in that mentality with those people getting on the tubes, but as I got older, got married, had kids and stuff, my interests changed. I just didn't care to be the drunk guy getting on there yelling, hooping and hollering, blasting tunes up and down the river. And that's what I see a lot of now. So I kind of had to find other things to do because I didn't want to be a part of that scene, but I still love the river. And that's when I kind of decided I wanted to do some guiding. There were some other factors that led me into the guide part of it, one of them being losing my job, but it was like, I'm already here at the river, I'm already working on the river, renting tubes and stuff. This going into the fishing aspect of it's just a natural jump into it. So that was what came next.
What year was that?
That was 2008 when I started guiding.
Okay.
And kind of what led me into guiding was we were here in Texas in 2008, as we were across the United States in the housing crunch. The housing market was taking a dump in a lot of states, and people were upside down, losing their homes and stuff. At that point in time, I did have a full-time job in Austin in my degree field. I was just out of college for 3 years, and I was working in landscaping in Austin. So my degree was in horticulture. Did a lot of residential landscaping in the west side of Austin. As you know, some nice big homes in that part of the city there. And a lot of new, nice, big homes being built, too. Well, in 2008, a lot of those new homes just kind of stopped where they were, stopped progress. And since there were no new homes being built, there were no new homes needing to be landscaped. Kind of a funny thing, I was the newest account manager with this landscape company, and they literally told me this to my face: "You're the easiest to let go right now."
Wow.
And so it's kind of a slap in the face. I had, worked hard in college to get this degree, and now I'm in my degree field doing the landscape thing. I didn't know what the future would look like there, but definitely was a slap in the face to tell you, we're just going to let you go because you're the newest guy here. And it kind of put a bad taste in me of that whole landscape industry. It's like, this is a hard job to, the only other way I'm going to make it any higher than where I'm at now is just to own my own company and do this all on my own. And I had no desire to do that. I didn't want to own a landscaping company. I didn't want to be that person that's 24/7 nonstop going to mow yards, not spending time having fun, I enjoyed it, but it was a job. I didn't want that to be my forever thing. So it was kind of an easy transition. When I lost that job, I had to have something else to do. I went and got a real estate license, which was probably not the best decision in the world, but I just needed something happening right then. At the time, we were freshly married. We'd just bought a house, and all this kind of happened all at once, then lost my job. So I'm struggling trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I've got to take care of my wife and this house and everything. So went out, got a real estate license. I started doing apartment locating in San Marcos. And let me tell you, that's a racket. Yeah. I'm sure you've seen the movie Glengarry Glen Ross. They have that saying in there, ABC, always be closing. It's a common thing, I guess, in real estate. You have to be closing on those properties to be making money. Well, in the apartment locating stuff, you got to be closing 5 or 6 a day to make any kind of money. I'm not a salesman. Just couldn't do it. At that time, I had a lot of downtime because I was doing the real estate stuff, kind of more or less, goofing off. I'd go into an office, but at times I'm just sitting there playing on the computer. Some of those down times I would take my fly rod and go down to the river and fish. I was working in between New Braunfels and San Marcos, kind of doing some of that area. And so it was like, okay, I'm on my lunch break. I don't have anything for the rest of the day. I'm going to just spend the rest of the day fishing on the Guad here. And during that time, I kind of become friends with a few of the guides in the area here as well. And long and short of it, one of them asked me one day if I could help him out on a trip. He was double booked. He had an extra boat. He just needed a person to take the people fishing. I was kind of worried at first, this being, my first possibility.
Who was that?
The guide?
Yeah.
Kevin Stubbs.
Okay.
Still around in the area.
Yeah.
So a good guy. And, he kind of helped me out, getting started with the guide stuff. And I'd picked his brain a little bit before I jumped on that trip, about asking him about guiding. What does it take? And he kind of scared me off with his first few, times I talked to him. It's like, it's not an easy way to make money, and everybody at that point in time that I knew was a guide was single. They all, relocated during the summer months. And I was like, this might not be an easy way to make money. But I was just headstrong. This is kind of what I wanted to do. I just had this feeling that this is my calling. I don't know why or how. I've, spent all this time and money getting a college degree in something totally different. But now I feel like this is where I need to be. And so I took that trip with Stubbs. Fell in love with it. I mean, I was amazed at the end of the day. I was clueless to what I was doing. The clients didn't have a clue. We caught fish, just flew through the motions. But at the end of the day, driving home, could not get the smile off of my face and kind of had a guilty feeling like, these people know it was my first time to take people fishing, But then I had to think, we caught fish. They had a great time. That was all irrelevant at that point, And at that point it was like, this is my job. This is what I'm going to do now. Whatever it takes, this is what I have to do. I went back to work at Rio at that point in time. So I'd taken a break from college time working at Rio off and on during the summers to, moving to Austin with a full-time job, then getting let go, starting to guide, but I needed something else to fall back on. I needed other income, especially during the summer, because we all know around here in Texas it gets pretty hot in the summer, and there's a couple of months that it's just tough fishing. Bass and panfish a lot of times just go deep when it gets real hot. Some of your big bass just go nocturnal during the hot summer months. So it's tough fishing. I needed something else to round out my, annual income.
Yep.
Still had the foot in the door at Rio. Still had buddies that worked there. Still knew the owner very well. And so it was just an easy fallback into where I was guiding in the wintertime for trout on the Guad and renting tubes in the summer months. And so it was kind of fun little time there, always on the river, but different aspects of it. Fishing, drunk people. Fishing, drunk people.
What's your best drunk person story?
I'd have to think about it here, but
there's not one that just like,
no.
man.
No, I've got several.
I imagine there's a lot of stories to filter through.
And there's some that are sad, some that involve lots of possible death and dismemberment and stuff.
Oh, wow!
I've seen some of that on the river. So that is an aspect. But as far as just drunk people doing drunk stuff, here's a good one. I just thought of. Y'all are all familiar with Rio. Yep. You walk down that hill from the office area, straight down those black rubber steps to the water. Right there adjacent to you is the bridge. The water underneath the bridge is channelized, some very shallow rocks with some fairly deep channels in between. And when I say deep being relative, maybe 4 to 5 feet deep in some of those holes.
Above your waders.
Yeah. Not diving water, though. So I was up at the raft shack, the little building up top of the hill where we rent all the equipment out. And this is a Saturday during the summer, kind of mid-afternoon. All of our tubes and stuff are out on the water. We're kind of just in that midday waiting for stuff to start returning back to us. I happened to look over. Coming up the hill are 3 guys. And what caught my eye was just the staggering motion as these 3 people were walking up. And then I noticed it was 2 guys, arm in arm. They were helping this one guy walking up. And that's when I started to notice even more. There's a lot of blood coming out of this guy.
Oh.
And this is a karma story, so this guy kind of deserved it.
Yep.
But they come walking up to me. Guy in the middle's face is literally filleted open. His
yummy
bridge of his nose up to the top of his forehead is just like a sheet of lunch meat just kind of laying off to one side. And as most head wounds are, they bleed profusely. So I'm pretty sure it's a bad wound, but a lot of it's superficial bleeding. We just need to stop the bleeding, figure out where this flap needs to go to. But at the same time, I'm trying to be cautious of, I'm not trying to get all up in this guy's bloody mess either, but, trying to talk him through, let's bandage this up. Ambulance is already on the way. I've already had somebody call him. So, we just need to calm everybody down and stop this bleeding and stuff. That's when I start kind of asking questions once everybody's kind of, taken care of. How did this happen? Well, we were standing on the bridge. I decided I was going to just dive in. He dove face first into a rock that was probably about a foot underwater.
That bridge is pretty high, too.
Yeah.
For diving, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably 10 foot off the water.
Yeah, that's
Trout get dumped off that bridge, but you can't jump off that
head first. Yeah. And so after they told me that, now granted, it's one of the buddies that was telling me this, and he was kind of hindsight laughing about it. We're obviously, everybody's okay, everybody's going to live. This guy's going to have a messed up face for a while, but we can kind of laugh about it now. it was all I could do to hold it back from laughing too. I'm just like, you don't jump off the bridges. There's signs that say do not jump off bridges here. We just don't jump off bridges. But this guy decided he wanted to face plant on the rocks down there, and he learned his lesson why we don't jump off bridges on the Guadalupe. So,
Oh my gosh.
so that's just one. That was a karma story. I see a lot of that happening in the summertime. I call it the stupid human tricks. The more people drink, the dumber things that they do. The prizes that they win with those dumb things kind of coincide.
The prizes. That's good.
It's usually something they'll get to take home with them, whether it's a wound or an arrest record or something like that. Gosh. So, yeah. But always a fun, exciting time, working there in the summer, getting to see all kinds of weird, crazy stuff. It was fun. I enjoyed it. But the older I got, again, like I was saying, it just got old on me. Seeing a lot of people older than me, acting way younger than me, the more they drank. And, it's like, that's just to each their own. Some folks like to float the river. Some folks like to get sunburnt to no end and get drunk and float that thing. I just did not see any fun in that.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to get away from that, and that's kind of when I transitioned away from Rio into full-time guiding. Started going to Colorado in the summer at that time as well, and basically full-time fly fishing, guiding year-round. Here in Texas, most of the year, springs, fall, and winter, and then spend the summers up in the Roaring Fork Valley guiding for trout up there. So for about 5 years, I was a full-time trout guide. Even here in Texas, didn't hardly bass fish at all. I'd come back to Texas usually mid-October, pick up the holdover tournament trout fishing, and just trout fish, sail right into the trout season on the Guad there.
Nice.
Some of those years were around 2015 when we had some high water, so we were trout fishing well into the summer months. I remember one year, I think it was 2016, I caught trout on the Guad on June 21st. On the 25th of June, I was catching trout on the Colorado River in Colorado. So, like 3 or 4 days' time, boom, I'm 1,000 miles away catching same fish in a different state.
That's crazy.
It was a lot of fun, especially that part of my guide career was a blast, traveling up to Colorado with the family. At the time, my wife wasn't working. We only had one kiddo, and I was the breadwinner for the family. So that kind of felt like I'd done something good with my life, I'd come full circle. I'm supporting my family off of this guide business now. And, we did that for about 5 years. Added a second kiddo to the equation. Things got a little harder. I was going to Colorado by myself for some of those summers. The last few I was going up there. And finally, kind of the wife gave me the ultimatum, either come home or find a place to stay in Colorado. And like, I'm going to come on home. So packed up and, haven't been back to guide in Colorado since. Don't not regret that. I love fishing in Texas and appreciate being closer to home with family, especially with kiddos getting older and stuff like that. There was a very real need for me to be here with my family. So since 2018, I've been back to just guiding here in Texas, doing more bass. I consider myself still a trout guide. That's probably my forte. Even though I grew up in Texas and didn't grow up fishing for trout, I would say I'm probably better at trout fishing in my guiding stuff than I am at bass fishing. It just makes more sense to me. I get it. I grew up bass fishing. You would think that would be an easier transition, but I just fell in love with the trout. Dry fly, nymph fishing, swinging wet flies and streamers, all of it. Just eat it all up.
So how does the moving into this season, we've had a really dry, hot summer. So looking forward to this winter in trout. Are you expecting holdovers in the river? And let us know kind of where you're, because I kind of look at it, but if the season doesn't really start for me or hasn't started for me in years past, so they start putting fish in the river.
Sure.
But as a guide, you're probably, if there's opportunities for holdovers before all the pressure and everything,
sure,
you're probably taking full advantage of that.
Surprisingly enough, this year, as hot as it's been and the low flows that we've got, I have seen more holdover trout in the river with my own eyes than I have in previous years.
Really?
Even in some of the higher water years,
wow.
For sure. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but I'm just counting it as a blessing that we're going to have a few extra trout in the river before trout season kicks around.
What are the flows right now? What have they been running the flows at?
75 CFS.
Okay.
So that's actually higher than when I first started guiding the Guad. For my first 3 years, summer, spring, fall, winter, the whole year round, it was 55 CFS.
Really?
Didn't see it go up, didn't see it go down. But we were in that drought, coming out of 2011 into 2012, before all the 2015 flooding we had. We had another 5-6 year drought period there where it was low flows. And it was tough fishing, but again, those fish do their thing. They're going to find their natural areas to feed. I think when the water is low like it is now, a lot of those fish are kind of piled up in those deep holes. They're easy to find. Early on in the season, they may be kind of easy to catch, but that starts to dwindle. They start to see all those flies. They start to get pressured. They get picky. They're still in the same spot, but there are no pushovers anymore. Yeah. They're wanting the exact fly. They're wanting a good drift. They're needing something different than the junk flies that everybody else is throwing at them. So I'm optimistic that this season's going to be a good one. We are slightly higher flows than what I have seen it before, so I don't think we're in a bad position. I'm hoping that we get some rain before this fall, too, just to cool things off mainly, but that will help if we get some water coming out of the lake a little bit more to kind of kick things off. And it's always...
Well, the lake's at the lowest level it's ever been.
We're about 16 feet or more down. I hadn't checked it recently.
Yeah, I thought I saw an article that said Canyon Lake said it's lowest
I think
level.
It was approaching?
Maybe
approaching the lowest level. So
yeah,
we're getting down there now. Canyon's not as bad off as some of our big reservoirs like Travis and Buchanan and stuff that those get really low.
Yeah,
surprising that Canyon doesn't as much. People draw water off of it, especially San Antonio draws a lot of water from Canyon Lake. It's not going to take a whole lot. We have seen it before, overnight. We get some of these big floods that come in and dump, and in a weekend's time, we're back to pool level or more.
Yeah.
And screaming too much water. We've all seen that in 2015. So it could happen, but I don't think this year will be any different. I do know the New Braunfels Fly Fishers Club has started to supplemental feed some of the fish this summer, and that may have helped to keep some of those fish alive. Some people kind of turn their nose up at it, but hey, there's 18-inch rainbows swimming in the Guad right now in shallow water rising for dry flies, or rising for, flies on the surface. I physically saw that with my eyes. I don't think those fish would be there had that club not been out there feeding those fish. So that's kind of a neat thing going into another low water season, seeing those amount of fish out there before we even put fish in the river. Yeah. So it'll be nice to see. And also going along with that, starting to see some wild fish, if you will. Some of those holdover fish now become naturalized in the river where they're keyed in on the bug hatches.
Caught one, I think, 2 years ago.
Okay.
I mean, it was...
Yeah.
A holdover? Yeah. Or a wild fish?
A wild fish.
Wild-born fish.
Yeah, but it was like this big, rainbow trout. So the state didn't stock it, and...
It's possible. There could be some small fish that slip through the cracks at the hatchery that make it to the truck, Somebody might have been holding a small one in his mouth, riding down here from wherever. It's possible. I won't say it wouldn't happen, but the amount of those size fish that I've seeing people posting online, it's more than just a coincidence.
Yeah.
There's natural fish reproduction happening. There's fish being born. I think we've got a long way to go before we have a native Guadalupe Trout River here. But it's possible, if we keep doing what we're doing, keep practicing catch and release. If we could keep the weather pattern stable and keep good water in the river, we could eventually have a sustainable trout fishery here on the Guad with some supplemental stockings and some possibly wild reproduction. There's evidence of it happening. We just need to encourage it to keep happening.
Yeah. But we can only control so many of those things that you mentioned.
The weather. The weather's the one. That's the one.
That's the hard one, for
75 CFS sounds like a dream compared to Spring Branch. We're at like 0 right now.
0.
Yeah.
Most gauges on the upper end are zeroed out right now. So it's
I'm glad to hear that the water's still looking okay down there.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
That's encouraging because I've just been thinking, it's not going to be good.
Yeah. I was getting ready to sell my gear. Start bow hunting.
I knew you were going to retire.
Start bow hunting.
bow fishing for trout.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, right. I'd be up.
You'd be on a stringer. You'd be on a stringer.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I've made my guiding career here on the Guad. Been at it 15 years now. It's the longest job I've had now. I don't know anything else. Couldn't go back to landscaping probably without going back to some kind of training or school, to relearn some of that stuff. So,
now your outfitter or your guide business is Hellenbach Outfitters,
correct?
And you are running solo right now,
yes,
right? But you have worked for some other people in the past. You were with All Water for a minute and worked with Kevin for a little bit.
I've worked in a lot of the guides. We work together.
Y'all share, yeah.
When I first started off, and Kevin Stubbs got me into it, kind of laid this all out for me. It's like we are competitors, but we also work together. Another gentleman y'all have had on the podcast, Kevin Hutchison, made that comment to one of our workshops one time. I used to do some of the fly fishing workshops with Kevin back in the day. And I remember him laying it out to one of these groups of guys. They were asking, how we made a living as guides, working together, doing all this stuff. Kevin basically spelled it out. We own our own guide services. Kevin has his, I had mine. At the time we had another guy working with us. He did his own thing. But there's times where we have, more than a 2-to-1 ratio of clients. We need another boat. I need a second or a third or a fourth boat. Or like Kevin needs an extra hand on those workshops. He's going to hire people that know what they're doing. So here in Texas, being a small niche market of guides, he's going to hire his competitors, which, again, we all knew each other. We all worked together for the common good, even though I'm trying to reach out to those same clients. We're going to work together when the time comes because he may need me on that double boat. I'm going to need him later on that double boat. Yeah. So working with some of these guys, again, it's always been kind of one-on-one. Everybody's got their own thing. It kind of would get convoluted at times because somebody did their own program. These guys did their own thing. Alvin came around, a couple of other Guadalupe guys, and formed All Water, where it was kind of they wanted to have a standard, if you will. They wanted to have a standard of guiding. This is the way our guides do things. You're going to get this same quality trip, same quality lunch, same quality experience, versus me going with this guy one day. The next week I go with Joe Blow Guide. We're fishing the same stretch, but it's a totally different trip because he didn't make me a lunch, or we just streamer fished the whole trip and didn't slow down and, pick on things or whatever. So once I started out with All Water, actually, they came to me and asked me to be a part of and felt honored to be a part of a group that at that time was a lot of tenured guides. We were talking about like Alvin himself, Jeff Davis, Winston, Shea, trying to think a few of these other names.
Winston. I knew him when I was back at Orvis Austin, but I have not seen or heard about that guy in
he was kind of
years.
brought on, with me about the same time there with All Water, but we wanted to have guides that people knew kind of in their kennel, if you will, if you want to call it that. We've got the best guides. If you want to go fish and have the best experience, this is the outfitter that you go with. And it was still is a great operation. They run a great tight ship. You're getting from one guide to the next, the trip's going to be kind of run the same. You're going to get the same experience out of it. The guides are going to be different, but you're not going to get this, this guy didn't do this for me, so I didn't have this quality time. It's all going to kind of follow into that same routine that we all do with the all-water trips. This last year, I kind of wanted to get back out on my own. I enjoyed booking my own clients, working with my own people, and doing my own thing. I may slow it down a little bit, not necessarily trying to slow down, but just maybe focusing on my quality clients versus taking any phone call that calls me wanting to fish.
Yeah.
I've got a good core group of my own clients that I've had for a while now. I enjoy fishing with those, and I'm just trying to work on keeping those, coming back and spending more time with those versus seeking just new. I'm always happy to take those new ones, but not just, again, taking everything that comes up on my plate there. So kind of in a nice little transition phase right here where I'm going from that, taking everything to working on the quality stuff and maybe transitioning more into a senior guide role where I'm looking more into volunteering for things, GRTU type things, getting into that leadership positions where, I'm getting to that age now and I'm not the young guide anymore. It's time to take responsibility for the things that I've been making money off of. Let's be a part of this organization and join up. And now I'll have the time to be able to do some of that stuff. So.
I'm going to backtrack just a hair. When you say you're looking for a different kind of, forgive me if this is the wrong way to say it, but a higher quality client, like what kind of factors are you looking for there? Like how do you weed it out?
Yeah,
that may be bad phrasing.
Somebody's listening and they're like, I want to go fishing with you.
Sure.
Like, what are you looking for in somebody? Yeah.
More or less somebody that I enjoy fishing with, that we have a common interest to go fishing together. We enjoy each other's company. I've had my own trips and trips that I've gotten from other outfitters where we just don't mesh. Sometimes guide and clients don't click. I tend to be a pretty easygoing guide. I don't yell at my clients. I don't get on to them. If they make a mistake, miss a fish, I brush it off with them. I find sometimes some of those clients might want a yelling at. They need that to respond. I don't know. I just don't find that to be my guide style. And I've found some of those guys that are maybe a type A personality, whatever it may be, that they need somebody on their case the entire time, telling them what they're doing. Whereas I would rather just fish with somebody who appreciates everything.
Yeah.
They don't have to know exactly what they did wrong on that cast. Why did I lose that fish? I'm not catching the same numbers of fish that I did yesterday, the last week, the last year with you. What are we doing wrong? It's like, we don't need to overanalyze this. We just need to have fun. And I've got to, again, those core group of clients, we go out, we catch fish, but I think a lot of that's because we've put the hard stuff behind us. We're just out having fun.
Yeah.
We're just out having good times. We're a couple of buddies. I end up getting a paycheck at the end of the day, but during the whole course of the day, we're just buddies out there fishing. In a guide role, I'm doing a lot of work, but I'm just hanging out with my buddies. Mm-hmm. Whereas I get some of the high-strung clients that I start to feel like I'm working. I'm second-guessing myself because the client is now second-guessing me. He questioned what fly I tied on. He's asking me where we should fish. Why are we not catching fish here? Or that boat just caught a fish. It's like my clients that know that routine don't ask that question. They know that puts me in a weird spot now. It puts the pressure on me. So I'm trying to look for those clients that, you know, don't put that pressure on me. Where I'm experiencing, I can't talk. I'm experiencing pressure anyways as a guide. I just don't need any undue pressure put on me just because the client's excited. They're wanting to catch that fish, or they see that other boat over there catching fish, and it happens. They look at me like, well, why are we not doing this, that, or the other? So just trying to slow down and reach those clients that we can kind of mesh on that same wavelength and just have a good time and fish together.
Well, I think you said it right, too. It's almost like you're kind of, you know, the first time you fish with a guide, it's almost kind of like feeling each other out, right? Like, it has to be a good fit for both people.
It's like dating. I find a lot of similarities to it when I used to date girls. You know, there's some girls that like to talk a lot. I like to listen, you know, so there's guys that get in my boat that like to talk. There's some of my clients that I'll sit there for hours and listen to them talk about nonsense stuff, you know, non-fishing stuff. They're a surgeon, and he's telling me how this, you know, how he does these type of surgery procedures and the new techniques or whatever. I'm interested just listening. He's having fun. He's passionate about his job, and it's putting passion into my job just because we're just hanging out, sitting out there catching fish. Oh, you got you a fish now. Hold that thought on that story. Let's land this fish.
It sounds like as you have gotten older and become a more experienced guide that you prefer a more experienced client.
Maybe so. I love my first timers.
Because because it seems like guys have never, I guess if you've never been with a guide before, the expectation is like, I'm going to book a guide and we're going to just slay fish.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't happen, then I could see where that pressure is. But like somebody like, if we went out and we floated, you know, it's like, you know, we make changes, we do what we can do. The boat's ahead of us catching a fish, no big deal. But like, you know, we just do our thing and stick to our routine, and eventually it'll probably happen. But there's not that like undue pressure.
I think you can still be a first time fisher or a first time client and still have that kind of mentality.
I get it a lot.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I start, you know, weeding out the ones that I want to maybe fish with in the future. They may have their own agenda, and I may not mesh with them, but they enjoyed my company. And I've had a few of those, and they've turned into good clients, you know, later on, where maybe that first trip was just a bad date. But second, third trip, okay, that client just has a weird personality. I know how to deal with him now. So now we have a great time out there fishing. I just know that guy says weird jokes sometimes, you know. He's just off-color humor.
Why is everybody looking at me?
But
he pointed at you too.
when I'm working with all water, I got a lot of first-time fly fishermen, first-timers for me for sure, but there is first-time ever fly fishing, period. Never touched a fly rod, never trout fished ever or anything. I enjoyed those, and I definitely would like to seek some of those out too, because I've had some of those where I've taken them from nothing. They didn't know anything. They didn't know what tip it was. They didn't know which end of the rod to hold. And now, over a few years, I have molded this client into a trout fisherman. This guy is now a bass fisherman. He likes to fish poppers only. 3-4 years ago, he didn't know how to cast, but now he's a snob to the trout stuff. He's a popper bass fisher guy. You know, that's all he wants to do now. And so I feel like I've accomplished that by taking that person, taking them. Yeah, our personalities already mesh. We're going to fish together again, but now I've trained this person into this good fisherman, and now we just go fish wherever. I have some of those that I can call up and say, hey, I've got the week off. I want to go check out this new stretch of river. It may not be fishing well. It may be a total suck out there when we get out there. But their first words out of their mouth is, let's do it. I want to go. I want to go just because I'm fishing with you. I don't care if we catch a fish or not. Now, what you mentioned earlier, I get a lot of my new clients and even some of my old ones, and I think that's why I like you said, the experienced clients. Some of my new guys will get out on the boat and not even prompted. It just starts off as a slow morning of fishing. the first 30 minutes to an hour, we may not be just pulling fish in left and right, but I look around and nobody else is. It's not us. The fish just aren't active yet. And without even prompting them, the client automatically turns to me and says, it's okay. I'm having a blast learning to fly fish today. If I caught a fish, it's just a bonus. Now, I quickly try to shut that down and say, no. We're going to try to catch fish. This is going to be a fun day, and our objective is to catch fish. I could take you for a boat ride all day long, put the rods down, and we'll still have fun sitting out here looking at things on the river. But our objective is for you to catch a fish today. But I appreciate the fact that that pressure is not on you. It's not on me. We're just here experiencing this.
So do you like it when they say that? Because it opens it up. It's kind of like, okay, all right, they have taken off the pressure that they understand what this is and what can happen, but they also know what the goal is.
It opens the trip up to many countless possibilities.
Yeah.
Now I find out that guy is a duck hunter. Now we're looking at ducks floating down the Guad. Oh, what kind of duck is that? And that's how I've learned most of my duck species is from taking guys that like to duck hunt out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know all the duck species we had when I first started guiding on the Guad. And so having somebody who appreciates the whole aspect of the trip versus I have to catch this fish, this one fish, or all the fish, I'd much rather have that guy. I know we're going to catch some fish. You know, I'll do everything I can if I have to jump in the river at the last minute and scoop a fish out with my bare hands and put it on the hook for you. We're going to catch one.
Right.
It never comes to that. Now, I find sometimes we get a few fish on, and because they're a new fly fisherman, we may not land that fish. They lost it because they don't know how to fight an 18-inch rainbow trout for their first time fly fishing ever, you know?
Yeah.
It's a tall task for anybody.
Yeah.
On 5X tippet, on a size 20 hook, they pop off, especially on the newbies. But I love it when they pop that fish off and they turn and look at me and they smile like, that was awesome. Let's do it again. Versus the guy that throws a hissy fit and throws my rod down in the boat and is like, I don't want to, what happened? Why did I lose that fish? I can quickly turn to him and say, well, it's because it's your first day to fly fish. I can throw it back at you just as easy,
Yeah.
but let's keep the pressure where it needs to be, not on you, not on me. Let's have fun and just learn the whole thing. So I love those guys that say that. They just turn and look at me, man, I'm having fun learning. I don't care if I catch a fish. Just keep that in the back of your mind. We're going to catch one here in a minute.
Yeah.
You're getting better with it, so.
You've been, how long have you been helping out at Green, working the fly shop?
I just started this summer.
Yeah.
So I needed some summer income this year. I didn't want to go back and work the tube stuff. Just didn't interest me this summer. I kind of wanted to stay in the fishing stuff, but I knew it was going to be a long, hot summer. Talking with a buddy of mine who was kind of in the know at Green Outfitters, kind of come to find out that Tanner, the gentleman that was working in the fly shop back there the last year or so, was going to be moving off to Utah this summer. And so they needed some help, and it was just a natural fit. Tiffany wanted somebody in there that had some experience, fishing as a guide. It was a no-brainer. So I kind of just fell into that job. I needed a job.
Do you like working in a fly shop?
I do. It's a lot of fun. I worked in a fly shop when I was guiding in Colorado. Part of working for an outfitter up there, I had to pull some shop hours, especially my first year. But I enjoy working with the customers, especially knowing those customers I'm not going to go fish with, but I can help them go be successful on their own because I get them coming in asking me for fly suggestions. I'm not going to give you all my secrets, but we're going to walk around and we're going to talk about a few things. I'm going to give you some suggestions. I'm not going to point at any one specific fly, but you should try these colors. You should try these patterns over here, kind of wave the hand in the general area. But I love it when those guys come back into the shop and like, hey, man, that one fly you told me, and I could have totally just pulled a fly out of the box anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just something that I've given them confidence in being in the shop there, and they go out and fish it, and they catch fish on it. And I love it when they come back and say, man, Judd, that fly you sold me last week, I caught best bass. I caught 100 panfish on it. The paint's falling off of it now.
That's when you
You
get
have
your
any
pen
more?
and paper. Say, what was that again? What did I
What did
say?
it
Where?
give you?
GPS location.
Where'd you fish it?
So, but I love. I'm ate up with fly fishing. I don't think I'll be doing anything else now on. But working in the shop's a totally different aspect of it. Getting to help customers, going out and doing their own thing versus me being in a boat with them, holding their hand. I'm not a salesman, which is kind of how I got into fly fishing, and that was probably the hardest thing for me to wrap my head around when I was asked to come work at Green Outfitters. And I told them, I told Tiffany and everybody, it's like I don't sell stuff. Never have been. I'm not comfortable selling stuff. I'm glad they were confident in me because I don't feel like a salesman at the fly shop there. I just talk about stuff. I talk about the rods I use. People ask me, what kind of flies do you like to use? I just talk about flies. I'm not selling anything. I'm just talking. And it naturally comes across as that sales, I'm making the sale without even trying.
Yeah.
And it's just a natural, just
Yep.
having conversations with people. I like talking with folks. I'm scatterbrained at times, so we jump all over the place and go crazy, but, I just like interacting with those folks in the shop, whether they're just walking in, looking around, and I get that a lot in the fly shop. People have never fly fished. Green's a big touristy area. You get a lot of folks coming in there and just looking around.
There's fly fishing in Texas?
Yep. And then they just walk right out of there, and I'm just,
Every
Really?
every day at Orvis. You can fly fish in Texas?
Yep. I'm sure you've seen that
Oh,
there.
gosh.
We happen to have our fish pond nets right there by the doorway. And Tanner had told me about this when I first started, but everybody that walks in that door that doesn't fly fish does the exact same thing. They'll walk in, they'll look around, they'll make some comment about fly fishing. Their hand will touch those rubber bags on the nets there. They'll squeeze those for a minute. They may make another comment, and then they just fade out. Every time. I don't know what it is about those nets, but they have to touch those nets.
There is a sensory thing about touching the
Yeah.
rubber net, though.
Yeah.
There-
I mean, man, woman, child, non-fly fishermen alike, they all have to touch that net.
It's like when a guy straps the dad joke where a guy like straps something down on the truck and they tap it. That's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Testing the tension on the strap. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but out loud they say that's not going anywhere. Yeah,
It's kind of like at the fly shop, people wiggling rods.
I
sit
love
back
it.
there
Yeah,
and watch
but
people
it
wiggle.
shows you absolutely nothing. But
Oh yeah, and I laugh and I watch them wiggle those rod tips over there, and they'll get two at a time going in both arms, just going back and forth. And I'm like that, and I'll even say it out loud to them. Let's go cast those. Let's see exactly what they do. Oh no, I'm just shopping. That tells you nothing right there. Just how wiggly that rod is. Is all it's going to tell you.
I had to teach somebody close to me that you two know. You haven't met her. You might one day. How to test a rod the other day. We were at a I won't say what store, but she grabbed it and was wiggling it like that. I said, "What do you think you're doing when you do that?" She said, "I'm just seeing where it bends." I said, "No, if anything, just pretend to cast it. You can see how the rod bends. Wiggling, you never used a rod like that. It's not going to show you
Shaking the
anything.
tips.
Maybe Gabe does when he's Euro nitpicking or something. I don't know.
But yeah, they'll come in and they'll go down the whole rack of rods there. They'll grab one off each section and just shake it for all they're worth, and that tip's going vibrating back and forth. I'm just like, yeah, I guess that's a good wiggly one there.
Oh, good stuff.
What's the best fish one of your clients has caught? Your best fish as a guide.
I've got a trout and a bass on that one. One of my trout ones would be. It was on the lower section. It was one of those high water years. I think this was 2016. Those trout that year in the higher flows were hanging in classic trout holding water. This particular fish was holding in some very skinny water right below Ingram Bridge. I don't know if y'all fish that area very often. Right below Ingram Bridge, it makes kind of a hard sweeping bend before it connects with River Road and kind of parallels the road there for a bit. So this hard bend happens to have this big tree limb that hangs over, and as you get into that bend, it comes out of this flat, shallow riffle and dumps into this drop-off. And back on that edge, on the edge of the drop-off, is a little hole and eddy over there, kind of where that tree limb's hanging off. I had a good stick that day. We had floated from L&L down, so we're in our last half of the day getting down to Rocky Beach to take out. So we're kind of on the tail end of the trip here. We come under Ingham Bridge. It's high water, so, we're just rocking and rolling through everything. He spots it, and he asks me about the spot. Should I make this cast? It looks fishy. In normal water flows on the Guad, I would have said, no, it's too shallow. There's no fish holding over there. It's too shallow. But this year, being that the water was higher, it's still shallow. It was probably 1.5 feet deep versus 1 inch deep right now. He made the cast, got a drift in there, and as that bubble's drifting down, I just had these recollections of guiding in Colorado, the way that indicator was just sliding over that riffle there and about to dump into that hole. And we're sitting there in the boat gliding through that same riffle, and it's all happening at the same pace, at a pretty rapid rate there. And just like a wild trout in Colorado, all of a sudden that indicator yanked down and took off upstream. The guy did everything right, set the hook, kept the pressure on him. We ended up dragging the fish back downriver with us. Turned out to be a 26-inch rainbow, big male, and ate a size 20 rainbow warrior.
Nice.
Perfectly placed, right place, right time, in 1.5 feet of fast, riffly water. That fish just had to be right on that little tiny, shiny fly there and sucked it up.
Damn.
And
26 inches.
Yeah, that's an impressive fish.
It was a nice one. Definitely, my most memorable trout on the Guad. I think not only the fish being memorable, it was a beautiful fish, a big fish. It was a big stalker. It had the club tail, kind of half chewed off.
Square tail. I love it.
But I think what made it so special for me and the client too was just how the whole thing unraveled. He called the shot. He recognized that as being a fishy spot. He even asked me my opinion on it, and I gave him the go ahead, and we all watched it happen, as that indicator slid in just like it should. He was on top of the minnows. Boom, there's the fish, just like textbook, like it should be.
Nice.
So that one was a lot of fun. I do have a big bass fish story. That one was on the Colorado. Had a couple of clients that came down from Dallas, and we were going to fish an all-day deal. They had a big weekend plan. They were meeting some friends in town. They had all this other stuff planned, so fishing was just kind of icing on the cake. So we started off our morning, got on a few bass pretty quick. I think it was the second hour of the day. We switched over to some bigger flies because we were catching some decent-sized fish on some articulated stuff. And I felt like these guys were casting comfortable enough that we could handle these bigger, heavy flies. And about half an hour into casting those bigger flies, I could see, they're struggling a little bit. We're, trying to work this fly too hard. They're just casting too hard, working the rod too hard. It's like, we just need to slow down a little bit. About that time, the guy in the front seat made not the greatest cast in the world. It came in kind of low, and the line's kind of zipping between me and him in the boat there. And about that time, I see the line come through. Here comes the fly, stuck right in this gentleman's back. Oof. Big articulated. I think it was a size 2 hook, like a circus peanut or one of those, Kelly Gallup flies.
Yep.
He's asking me to pull the fly out of his shirt. I thought it was hung up in his shirt, and I reached up there to grab it. And when I did, I saw him wince in pain. That's when I realized one of them hooks is in his skin. Well, it just so happened to be it was right over the top of his backbone there, the thinnest part of skin, right on top of the spine there. It's like, we're going to leave that thing alone because I don't want to give you any kind of a spinal injuries out here today, What we're going to do, and it probably wasn't the best decision. Hindsight, I was still kind of early into my guiding career. Hindsight, looking back now, we probably could have tried some other techniques to remove this fly. But again, it was a barbed size 2 hook. I needed this guy to keep fishing all day. I needed to get this fly out. So what we did is we cut the hook off rather than pull it out and left the tip of the hook inside of him.
Oh.
Knowing full well he's going to have to go to the doctor at the end of this trip.
Yeah.
This was his call, too. He was like, I want to fish. We want to keep fishing.
Yeah.
And that was the ultimatum I gave him, too, there in the middle of the river was we either do this or we reel it up and head to the boat ramp and go to the ER.
Right.
So they were fully willing to do what we wanted, what I was wanting to do. And it's like, this is, I don't want this fly to be pinching your shirt all day, and every time you move to cast, be pulling on that fly, causing you any undue pain. So we're just going to clip it off. That way the shirt's out of the equation, too. So all that happened. Hour later, this same guy lands a 9.5-pound largemouth on the same style fly, different fly, because we'd cut that hook off, but we'd just swapped it over for the same olive circus peanut. Lands this huge bass, and I've got a picture of this guy holding the bass up by the belly. And this guy's not a little guy. He's about 6 foot tall, probably 280 pounds, just a big mountain of a guy. He's got his full man fist, shoved up. And just for scale, I wanted him to do it. He had, a lip bass on his first picture, but I sitting there looking at this fish. I was like, look how big that mouth is. Do me a favor, make a fist, and I want you to just put your fist in his mouth. So I've got this guy in a picture holding this 9.5-pound bass with his giant fist just sticking there in his mouth.
Oh, man.
So that was a pretty cool experience. At the end of that trip, we get to the boat ramp, get the boat loaded up. I get them to their car, and they were making the comment, too, we had reservations at some Austin restaurant downtown, they were going to go eat at tonight. And I was like, well, y'all guys are going to have a trip to the ER because you still got that metal hook in you. Yeah. He had so much fun catching that fish, he had totally forgotten about that piece of metal still stuck in his back that I had to remind him, no, y'all go to the ER right now. So go get that taken
That's
care
awesome.
Oh, man.
So that was a pretty cool story there. So
what's your bucket list fish?
Dorado.
There you go.
Yeah, I like the jungle aspect of that. I want to go catch some just weird fish in the jungle. I like watching some of those videos of how those fish feed. Very, very aggressive. Very.
You and I might need to talk after this podcast.
Okay, yeah.
I might have some info for you.
Okay. Yeah. That's something, I think it's an easy attainable bucket list item, but it's definitely pinnacled on my list just because of the type of fish it is. It looks like a trout. It eats like a bass, so it's got two things that I like, already. And it's in the jungle. It's like, what can you not love about that? You're, fishing with monkeys and toucans flying around you, It can't be any better than that. So
I like to watch the videos online because it's intense. So they're casting, whatever. Then they see a fish and they change directions and cast, and this big giant golden thing comes flying out of the water.
And
they're
you
so
see
cool.
them down in the water, that giant gold silhouette just flashing around on that fly.
Yep.
It's like it's only what looks like 5 feet deep of clear water, and there's half a dozen of these, 28-inch long, however big, giant gold missiles just darting around with big, massive heads and teeth, and just chomping on everything.
Mm-hmm.
It just watching those videos and how insane the fight is, hooking up, and the thing thrash around. I'm just like, I'm gonna have a heart attack watching these videos here. It's getting my
cool
getting my blood pumping a little bit too fast.
Oh, cool.
Where can people, if people want to book a trip with you, how do they get in touch with you?
I've got my website. It's centraltexasflyfishing.com. This was back in the early days of making websites and stuff. I was trying to set keywords into a website name, so that's where it got its name, Central Texas Fly Fishing. You can also give me a call. My phone number. Do we need to give that on?
You can
if you want.
That's 512-940-5965. It's the easiest way to get a hold of me. I do respond to text pretty quick, so if you call me with a voicemail on the river, I'll probably get back to you later in the day when I get off the water. But usually I can shoot a quick text out if you wanted to ask a quick question if I'm out on the river or something like that.
Instagram, Hell and Back Outfitters.
Instagram on Hell and Back Outfitters. I'm not a big social media guy. I think I'm the right generation. I just didn't have that drive to get active into that stuff, and it's all been kind of lost on me, and I've been playing catch up ever since. So I'll post things on there, but it's probably not going to be my first go-to reaching out on social media platforms and stuff.
Okay.
Instagram's where I do spend more time, though. If I do post anything, it's all going to be there. I don't have any other.
And we'll link your website and everything in the description so people can go down there and click on it if you're listening to the podcast.
You can also find me at Green Outfitters for the remainder of the summer. I may still be around a little bit in the fall, maybe some days the winter, if I've got some days off during trout season this year. So I'll be kind of kicking it around a little bit more there some.
Cool. And last but not least, Ironfly. You got any updates?
Do I?
Do you? I don't know.
Did we talk about this already?
No.
I don't think so.
When
Ditch Fish and Fly is going to be donating some flies for the raffle. And Bimini is going to donate a rod. And Roy's just sent us a bunch of gear.
Yep.
It's on the way right now.
Remote Designs is sending us a bunch of waterproof packs.
Nice.
Aerosmith agreed to be there. So that'll be cool.
I don't think they did that.
I mean, if I say it enough, manifest it, man. Manifest it.
I confirmed with our tattoo artist.
Nice.
So he's going to he's going to start doing a bunch of drawings and send them over to me.
Ooh, and then we got to go get one to
good.
set up.
We can be the displays.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah. I'm a fan.
I get to choose first, and you guys can choose whatever's left.
Okay.
Y'all are going to get tattoos before?
I'll get it at the event.
So the thing is, we're going to have the tattoo artist there.
At the event.
Yeah. And
I'll get it before
Yeah.
as a promotion to come to the event to get a tattoo.
Right.
Because in my experience, every event that has a tattoo artist, that is the thing that books up quickly. And most people who want one don't get one because of the interest in it.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a
Well,
good
maybe we
thing.
need to do that for promotion for you then.
Yeah.
We can go and get watch you get a tattoo and
Film it.
film it. Yeah. You have you don't have a tattoo, do you?
I have a brand.
Oh yeah, you.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, you're the real man here.
Are you ready for a tattoo?
I'm the real idiot. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Do you have a tattoo?
I do.
Yeah.
It's on my back. I got it a long time ago.
American,
out of
it's
place.
an American eagle with a flag, huge, like all the way up and down the back.
It's actually a pretty decent size, but it's where I can't even see it. Honestly, there's times I've totally forgot I've had the thing. So yeah,
That's funny. My brother has a back tattoo, and he's like half the time he's like,
yeah.
people are like, "You have a tattoo?" And he's like, "Oh, that's right, I do have a tattoo."
Oh yeah, I have to look at it in the mirror.
Like, oh, it's still there.
Color.
But Ironfly, October 21st, you can sign up on our website. It is now available to sign up. If you want to participate in the fly tying, you have to sign up. You can sign up at the event or you can sign up early. We would prefer if you sign up early because everyone that signs up is going to get a hat. And if you sign up early, that will guarantee you a hat at the event.
Because there is going to be a limited number. If you sign up early, you're guaranteed one.
Yeah.
At day of, you're not guaranteed.
And you don't have to, the $30 covers you to participate in the event and covers your hat. There's no additional charge for the hat. But if we need to know how many hats we need to order, so if you want a hat, then you need to go to our website, honeyholeangling.com, click on Ironfly. That'll take you to the sign-up form. You can pay your $30, and you guys are good to go. If you just want to go and not tie flies but hang out, participate in the raffles, enjoy live music, drink beer, that there's no charge for that. So, and we might have some extra hats at the event to sell if you just want a hat.
Well, here's a question. I don't know if I should save it for later, but I'm going to ask it now anyway. What if somebody just wants the hat and they don't want to go?
So you said you can buy the hat.
You can just
You can just buy. You can just buy a
can you
hat
pre-order the hat if you want one,
and then just get the hat and the proceeds go. Can we
you
do
can
something
buy
like that?
one for $30.
Yeah, if you want a hat,
Yeah,
you
well,
need
that's
to,
what I mean.
you need to go to our website and sign up for the Ironfly. That will guarantee you a hat, but you do not have to participate.
Do you have to attend though? What if they just want to donate from afar? Could we do something like that?
I'm sure if you
They would need to come to the event to pick the hat up.
Okay.
or I mean if there's
Because we're going to lose it on shipping. I don't have shipping set up on the website.
Fair enough.
So Real Recovery is not going to get any money on that, and I don't have shipping set
that
up.
makes sense.
So hats at the event.
Yeah. Or have a friend pick up your hat.
If we have some left over, I'll probably put them up on the website and set up shipping. But that's only if we have some left over. But that's a big if. But October 21st, Faust Brewing Company, New Braunfels, Texas, starting at 2 p.m. It's going to be a great party, raise money for a good cause.
And have some fun.
Our judges are
Chris Johnson, Chris Kowaleski, and who was
Kevin
Hutchison.
Cool.
So we got an A+ judge panel. So it's gonna be fun. So we hope to see you guys out there. That's all I got. You guys got anything else?
Nope.
Thank you, Judd.
Thank you.
Yeah,
this was
thank
great.
you.
We really appreciate it. We really appreciate you coming and joining us. So, all right, guys, we'll catch y'all on the next episode.
Peace.
Look in the description below to find links to our website, online store, YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Discord server, and blog. Please send your podcast questions and inquiries to info@honeyholeangling.com. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you again next week.
That's it.
That's it.
Cool.
We're good to go.